Well, it's official. My lawsuit against the state of Texas has been filed. Now, I'm going to give you a quick update in this short video. For those of you who are on the platforms with time limits, we'll get this done in under 2 minutes. And for those of you who got more time, stay tuned. We'll get deeper into it. But first of all, you may remember that I ran for mayor this year, mayor of Houston, starting in January, and I filed to be on the ballot in July. I was rejected from the ballot and officially removed from the ballot August 21st because of a 18-year-old nonviolent drug possession felony that I got when I was 20 years old. I'm 38 years old now. And basically, Texas election code has been interpreted by current mayor Sylvester Turner using a legal opinion from Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, to say that I am not qualified to run, even though I ran as a mayoral candidate in 2019 without any issue. And I mentioned at the time that I was more than likely going to be filing a lawsuit against the state of Texas to see if we could overturn this election code, which I believe is unconstitutional, and my attorney believes is unconstitutional as well. As of Monday, the lawsuit has been filed. You can go ahead and look it up in the system. We have a cause number now. And as of today, Wednesday, it has now been reported on by the Houston Chronicle. Shout out to them and to their journalist who interviewed me and has been following my situation. And I'm expecting more coverage from Houston Landing as well as likely Fox 26 here in Houston, because we are challenging the constitutionality of the Texas election code, and this could ripple out and help not only myself, but a lot of people who have paid their debt to society and might want to run for office or serve their community in some way. And look, I'm not somebody who really believes in the system and thinks that running for office or trying to fix things from within is necessarily the answer. But I do think it's a valuable move to try to take away any roadblocks, any obstacles to change for somebody like myself and other felons out there. This would just be one less barrier that they have to overcome. So if you would like to support our lawsuit, because we're going to need money for this, please check out my bio or the links below, depending on where you're watching, and consider donating to our crowdfunding for this lawsuit. And stay tuned, guys. There's going to be a lot more coming. This is just the beginning. Thank you for supporting me. And for those who want to get a little bit deeper, we're going to go now. I'm going to show you guys the actual arguments that are being made in my case, in my situation, and explain to you what we're trying to do here. And what I'm showing you here now is actually just a copy of a draft of the actual filing that we ended up filing with the court. And this is, as I mentioned, as I showed you earlier, it's already in the system. You can find it there. And this is explained in the Chronicle article, but I want to show you guys myself the actual discussion, the actual argument that we're making here. So, Derrick Broze, natural person. This is taking place in Harris County, Texas, which is where Houston is based. And here's where it says, Derrick Broze completed and filed his application for a place on the election ballot for the office of mayor of Houston. The election is to be held in November of 2023. Broze's application to the election ballot was denied by Mayor Sylvester Turner on the grounds that he had a prior felony conviction for possession of a controlled substance. Texas election code outlines, and I've covered this before in the past, I'll just briefly go over it, but it basically says, to be eligible for to be a candidate, you must have not been finally convicted of a felony from which the person has not been pardoned, which is kind of plain and clear, or, and this is the confusing part, otherwise released from resulting disabilities. And that phrase, different courts in Texas have interpreted differently. So some have allowed felons like myself to run for office without any issue. Others have disqualified people, like just happened to me. And so this was inevitable that this would be a challenge. And it says here in July 2008, the district court entered a judgment adjudicating Derrick Broze guilty of possession of controlled substance. The offense was a third-degree felony. Broze maintains a right of access to the election ballot under both state and federal law. Under the Texas Constitution, Broze's right of access to the election ballot arises under Article 1, Section 19, which provides no citizen of the state shall be deprived of life, liberty, property, privileges, or immunities, or in any manner disenfranchised, except by the due course of law of land. Article 16, Section 2 limits the classification of persons that may be excluded from holding office. It says specifically under Section 2, laws shall be made to exclude from office persons who have been convicted of bribery, perjury, forgery, or other high crimes. Persons that have not been convicted of the above class of criminal offenses are eligible to hold public office, which would mean my simple drug possession, nonviolent felony would not qualify. Broze contends that the mere possession of controlled substance is not a high crime under Article 16, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution. Not all felonies are high crimes, and then we list some different court cases that we found. Thus, the Texas state constitution conflicts with Texas election code. So we're kind of trying to make them, decide if the election code really is in line with Texas constitution, and if not, then they would be forced to change it. Now, we also have this other situation. Broze filed application. I did file as part of this lawsuit what's called the restoration of rights, which I am very unlikely to get. It still has to go through the Board of Pardons and Paroles and this governor, and it makes me really honestly sick having to even fill out this paperwork and get letters from friends and families, attesting to my character, that I'm a good person, to try to get the state to, quote, restore my civil rights, when we all know that the Creator gave me my rights and the state can't take them away. But nonetheless, they control the courts, they control the police, and so here we are. The restoration of rights requires an unconditional act of executive clemency by the governor of Texas. Article 4801 provides the governor of the state of Texas the authority to grant reprieves, commutations of punishments, and pardons. However, the right to a written favorable recommendation by the Board of Pardons and Paroles or executive clemency is discretionary. The state has provided no criteria or guidelines that entitle a defendant clemency by the governor. Without a criteria or guidelines, the right for a defendant to restore his civil rights remains an arbitrary and capricious act of government. So that's kind of another argument we're making, that they claim that you can go through this route of restoration of rights, and okay, I'm trying to do that, but they don't actually tell you, they give you a bunch of paperwork that you're supposed to fill out and put together, and it costs money and time and energy to do that, and I doubt, it was frustrating and a lot of work to do it, but there's no defined criteria. So we go on here under causes of action. Plaintiff Derrick Broze was denied his right of access to the ballot in violation of Article 1, Section 19 of the Texas Constitution on the grounds that felony possession of a controlled substance is not high crime. Section 141001A4 of Election Code bars a convicted felon from holding public office, and we're arguing that that violates Article 1, Section 19 and Article 16, Section 2 of the Constitution. I have a right to access to the election ballot under the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Such right may be enforced under Title II U.S.C. 1983. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals considered the issue of whether all felonies are high crimes, and we basically just show here there's a case that my lawyer found that says that high crimes again are a specific type of crime involving dishonesty, bribery, forgery, perjury, inherent dishonesty, and corruption, and things of those sort. Things like DWI and drug possessions have been found not to be under that category. I am requesting declaratory relief and have the court to enter a declaratory judgment that Article 1, Section 19, when read in conjunction with Article 16, Section 2 of the Constitution, provides the citizens of Texas a right of access to the election ballot, except for those persons convicted of bribery, perjury, forgery, or other high crimes. Broze requests that this court rule that a possession of a controlled substance is not a high crime. Broze requests declaratory relief and determine whether Article Section 1, Section 19 conflict with Texas election code. Broze requests this court declare whether Texas embodies a right of restoration of felons' civil rights and whether the present scheme is arbitrary and capricious. He requests that upon finding such a right of restoration exists, that the court order the state of Texas to provide defendants guidelines and criteria for the restoration. And so that's kind of our argument there, and that is, as I said, that's been reported now. It's out there. It's in the Houston Chronicle. It's being discussed, and I think that there's probably going to be some more press coming here, and I was grateful for this journalist here to interview me and talk about this and give me a chance to share my story. I'll just read a couple of quotes here. I told him I did my time. I paid my quote-unquote debt to society. Being blocked from the ballot because of having a felony in Texas is just another barrier to entry that felons like myself face. And, I appreciated the way that she went about this, because she talks about how she did a good job bringing in the Ken Paxton, the Attorney General's legal opinion, and talking about how other states have allowed felons to be on the ballot, including myself, and other cities, including myself in 2019. But now laws come in where they're requiring proof, and that proof is we don't know what that proof is either, so that's probably going to be part of our arguments as well. And then there's this whole thing about felons have the right to judicial clemency. which is apparently another path you can take. But that they also claim you only have 30 days to basically apply for that. Like once you get out of prison or off parole or probation, you apparently have this 30-day timeline to apply for judicial clemency, and I guarantee you nobody tells you that. They did get another quote from the city attorney, Arturo Muchel, and he said that, they'd already told me this before. Again, the Chronicle doesn't go beyond the check mark on the ballot application. So if I had just lied and said, no, I don't have a felony, no, but even though everybody knows I have a felony, the city doesn't have the resources of the time or the energy or the desire or something. They don't look beyond it. They don't look into it. So I would have been able to, run. But nonetheless, this is a different fight now. And then he said in a new statement, quote, "The city of Houston has abided by a good faith belief in the current state of the law and will follow future binding interpretations." So, yeah, and it's interesting. She gets a quote of a constitutional law attorney, Gerald Bernberg, ex-chair of the Harris County Democratic Party, who says that I have a uphill battle, but that that this could be a case in my favor, but there's still ways that they could find against me. And Bernberg said, quote, "At least we could add some clarity to the Texas election code. I also believe that we would be well served to have people who have been through that experience as an elected office." And I believe that he meant prisoners like myself, former prisoners, felons, ex-cons, whatever you want to say. "That perspective can teach us what it takes to rehabilitate people." And of course, I acknowledge this is an uphill battle and that I have raised $5,000 so far, crowdfunding, and that I was told by my attorney it's going to take about $20,000. We've raised $5,000 of that, $3,500 from one single person. Shout out to my supporter, you know who you are, and then to other people who've made other donations. So just want to mention that. So if you do want to support, we have this fundraiser campaign going right now. It's been running for 43 days. Our goal is to get $20,000. As I said, we've raised $5,000 of that already with what's here and then some offline donations. So realistically, if we can get to $15,000, that should take care of the funds that I need to pay the lawyer fees, because unfortunately I'm not wealthy myself and I can't pay this out of pocket. I wish I could, and I would hate for us to take it. This first round, we're more than likely going to get denied, and then there'll be an appeal process, and it's going to, we're going to go through a couple of courts, and maybe, as she mentioned, as I told her here in this article, it might all the way go to the the Supreme Court. We'll see, but the point is we're going to need some financial support. So if you can give 5, 10, anything, guys, please do check out the link in the description and everything else if you want to donate. Now, I appreciated too, the final thing is the way she's in. She said, "Meanwhile, he continues to go to election events to advocate for other local initiatives that align with his values, including Proposition A. Many attendees have approached him at these events to inquire about his efforts to challenge the Texas election code," he said. And she quoted me being rejected from the ballot in some way generated more attention to this particular issue. Even if we don't win, maybe we can generate a conversation." And that's kind of where I'm at with this, guys. Like I said, I'm hoping to make life a little bit easier for former felons like myself who are changing their life and turning things around and have to deal with just one less BS thing. And, I also said it makes me sick in my stomach to have to deal with the state at all and filing court paperwork and doing this. But I'm putting aside my personal feelings in the interest of this bigger fight. And if you want to help me make potential history and change Texas election code, overturn a bad law, which is like how many times you get to do that, then please support me, because I don't know if I'll ever run for mayor again in Houston. This isn't about so I can run again in the future. This is just to overturn a bad law that, yeah, it screwed me over. They screwed me over this year and it sucks. Let's make sure nobody else gets screwed over again in the future. And then in a few years, we'll talk about if I'm ever going to run for mayor again. We'll see. But in the meantime, we have a chance here to take this as far as we can. And so I'm going to do my part. If you want to help out with the donation, that is very much appreciated. And again, thanks to the Houston Chronicle for the reporting. Look out for the Houston Landing reporting. And then there'll be some reporting from Fox 26 hopefully as well. And so for anybody else who wants to just keep up with this, my main website, of course, is theconsciousresistance.com. That's where all my journalism is. And I will post updates sometimes for about this case, like this video here. But for the most part, if you want to keep up with the blogs and stuff related to the Houston politics, my Houston activism, and this election and lawsuit, please visit derrickbroze.com and check out our blog page, and you can keep up with all those posts. So that's where I'm going to leave it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. Thank you to all of you who believe in me and who are supporting me throughout this journey from coming back to Houston to try to fight for change and expose truth at this crucial time, as we're 6.5 months away, 6.5 years away from, even less than that now, just about 6 years away from Agenda 2030 and that deadline that the World Economic Forum and others are pushing. So with that crucial deadline kind of bearing down on us, I thought it was worth coming back to Houston to try to spread awareness and reach people, and I believe it was worth it. I'm a part of an initiative, which I'll tell you guys more in a couple of weeks once the election passes, but we've been pushing this initiative, Proposition A, and able to help shrink government on the local level and give the city council members, which are the representatives on the local level, a little bit more power to fight for the people. And I don't care about the US representatives and even the Texas state representatives, all that, but I will fight for change on my local level. And I think if more of us did that, we would end up in a better place, because you can't forget Agenda 2030, the United Nations World Economic Forum, these travel restrictions and driving restrictions and all that stuff, it's coming on the local level. So if each of us get involved locally, we could maybe push back and avert the crisis that is right in front of us. And I'll talk more about that later. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free, my friends. Peace.